The series begins by showing a scene at a university, specifically on the roof of one of the campus buildings. At that time, a guy named Eunho wants to tell a girl named Sola that he likes her. But Sola feels awkward about his behavior and reluctantly agrees to his love confession. Later that evening, Eunho goes to Sola's house with a cake he made. He rings the doorbell multiple times, but she doesn't answer. Then, Eunho tries calling her, but she doesn't pick up. Since he knows the password to her room, he tries to go in, but the password has been changed. So Eunho ends up leaving the cake with Sola's neighbor instead. When Eunho returned home from Sola's place, he imagined that she liked the cake he made and thought she might want to spend time with him that night. But then he got a message from Sola, asking to break up. Just then, there was thunder and heavy rain outside. At first, Eunho joked about it and tried to call her again. But Sola didn't answer, so he texted her asking why she wanted to break up. She replied saying he didn't understand how she felt. At the same time, Eunho noticed a strange man behind him, holding a brick. Feeling scared, he ran, but the man hit him on the back of his head. Lightning struck Eunho at the same moment. As Eunho briefly regained consciousness, he grabbed the man's ankle and saw something that made him realize the man was dangerous. Soon after, Eunho wakes up in the hospital. Then a nurse checks on him while holding his hand. Strangely, Eunho can hear her thoughts, and he realizes she's cursing at him. When he confronts her, she denies it. Later, when Eunho holds another nurse's hand, he sees her intentionally contaminating a fellow nurse's coffee. Outside his room, he observes nurses gossiping and the nurse who cared for him earlier being praised by her colleagues. This reminds Eunho of the spit-tainted coffee. Then Eunho watches a TV report about a man who can read minds, which triggers memories of the attacker. When questioned by a police officer, Eunho claims he can hear and see people's thoughts when he touches them. The officer finds this odd but tells Eunho to rest. A few days later, Eunho was feeling better and was back on campus. He saw Sola walking with her friends. Eunho wanted to say hi, but then he remembered Sola saying he didn't understand how women feel. While in the elevator, Eunho bumped into a group of women. Suddenly, he could hear their thoughts, realizing he could only hear women's thoughts. This reminded him of Sola, so he rushed to her apartment to find out what she was thinking. When he arrived, he saw Sola with another guy. Eunho wondered if this was the reason she broke up with him. Sola denied it, saying she's known the guy for a long time and sees him as a brother. She wants his company because she's scared after her neighbor died in the bathroom yesterday. Eunho confessed he could read minds and asked Sola to be honest. When Eunho holds Sola's hand, he learns about what happened when she visited with Cake. She was at home with a man and they were being intimate. Sola panicked when Eunho had a nosebleed and got him a tissue. But Eunho doesn't want it and asked if she made love to the man when she broke up with him. Sola was shocked, while Eunho said that she had no manners. Sola also said that Eunho didn't like her. If he likes her, then he will know what she likes. Sola insists that Eunho is only trying to be a loyal man. After that, Eunho thought about himself by the lake. A little later, a drunk girl named Yiri appeared. Shortly after, Eunho planned to leave, but Yiri stopped him by holding his hand. He read her thoughts, realizing she had left her boyfriend without telling him. Then, Eunho decided to stay and keep her company. Eunho shared that he recently broke up with his girlfriend. Yuri listened to his story and advised him to move on and not blame his ex-girlfriend. They ended up drinking together. There he also mentioned that he could read minds if he touched people, and he saw that she had a split personality. In the morning, a janitor woke up Eunho, who was sleeping outside like a homeless person. He woke up and searched for Yuri, but all he found was a note scribbled in his hand. Long story short, Eunho is now in Professor Jusung's room. Jusung thinks Eunho is crazy for believing he can read minds, especially since it apparently only works on women. Eunho explained that sometimes he can also see what the person is thinking. Jusung seems impressed, but suggests Eunho see a psychiatrist. Just then, a female lecturer arrives wanting to see Jusung, who is busy. At that time, Eunho wanted to impress Jusung, so he showed off his ability. He also asked the female lecturer what she was doing with Jusung while holding her hand. Suddenly, Eunho saw Jusung being intimate with her. Skipping ahead, Eunho and Jusung were chatting in the campus yard. After knowing his ability, Jusung believed it was a gift and could help him win over any woman. He suggested Eunho pick a major with lots of female students. But Eunho was already heartbroken and had signed up for military service. 3 years later, Eunho gave a presentation to students, despite falling behind academically due to military service. The lecturer praised his excellent presentation. Afterward, students were surprised to see Jdrama, who confessed her feelings for Eunho and hugged him right away. At the same time, Eunho, who was hugging Jdrama, suddenly noticed a student wearing a hat and mask, who turned out to be Jiri. Later, Eunho and Jdrama were chatting in the campus yard, while some curious students glanced at them. There he learned that there were journalists secretly following Jdrama. He also discovered that Jdrama wanted to create a fake scandal with a non-celebrity to divert attention from her own affair scandal. Meanwhile, 3 female students were gossiping about Eunho and Jdrama dating, as the news had spread widely on social media. They claimed Eunho often approached women just to invite them to eat or watch something together. However, Eunho insisted he didn't want to date anyone. At night, Eunho was sleeping in Jusong's room, so Jusong woke him up to show him his test results. Looking at the results from 3 years ago, Jusong revealed that Eunho had a broken blood vessel in his head. Meanwhile, in a cafe, Jiri cynically watches a couple celebrating the woman's birthday. The woman is happy with the man's surprise, but Jiri doesn't like their closeness. Surprisingly, the couple is from the same campus as Eunho. Their romantic gestures catch the attention of 3 students who wonder how the guy could get such a beautiful girl. One of them mentions that when Eunho was in the military, the guy with a girlfriend was in the same unit as him. Turns out that man once went on a blind date but got rejected. Feeling bad, Eunho used his powers to help the girl figure out what the woman wanted. Since then, all his friends have found partners except Eunho himself. Knowing this, a student named Byung-chul asks Eunho for help in winning over a girl named Do-hyun. There, Eunho tells Byung-chul that Do-hyun doesn't know him, but Byung-chul insists they knew each other. Suddenly, police sirens sound in the area. Then, Byung-chul climbs onto the roof and shouts Do-hyun's name, declaring his love. But there are 2 Do-hyuns on campus, confusing Eunho. Eventually, he realizes that the woman Byung-chul likes, who is wearing a mask, isn't Do-hyun but Jiri. Turns out previously Do-hyun made a deal with Jiri to take her place in Professor Jusong's class. She even offered Jiri some money to help her prepare for the graduation exam. Finally, Jiri agreed to pretend to be Do-hyun while on campus. But when Jiri tried to escape, Eunho stopped her. Meanwhile, Byung-chul bravely confessed his love to Jiri, but she still managed to get away. Byung-chul saw her running and accidentally fell from a building. Thankfully, the rescue team was ready to catch him. After that scary incident, Eunho remembered when he confessed his love to Solan in the past. The next day, Jiri apologized to Professor Jusong for secretly attending his class and taking Do-hyun's place. She also explained that she had always wanted to be in his class since high school and asked for his signature to avoid punishment. Meanwhile, Eunho visited Byung-chul in the hospital and asked why he liked Jiri so much. There, Byung-chul explained his feelings for Jiri, unaware that it was her other personality that he likes. Feeling bad, Eunho gave Byung-chul advice and helped so that Jiri would like him. In the evening, when Jiri came home from work, Eunho followed her and apologized for the campus incident. He also asked for a chance for Jiri and prepared a surprise. Jiri was impressed, but when she asked how Eunho knew where she lived, he suddenly said he ever followed her. This happened because Byung-chul followed Eunho's advice. However, Jiri thought of him as a stalker, while Eunho confidently awaited good news from Byung-chul. Sadly, Byung-chul ended up getting hurt because Jiri beat him up. When Jiri confronted Eunho, she was angry with his actions. As she walked away, Eunho saw Jiri's shadow near a cliff. The next day, Jiri woke up in an art gallery wearing a red dress, shocked and confused. She quickly called her friend for help. Meanwhile, the gallery was filled with people, and Jiri ran away when chased by a security guard. Fortunately, her friend Eugene arrived just in time. The next day, at campus, Jiri wasn't punished by Jusong. Instead, she got a job as an office assistant. Soon after, Eunho appeared, and they were forced to work together and see each other every day. Outside of school, Jusong saw a woman he liked while she was exercising. He couldn't take his eyes off her and followed her to the canteen. It turned out she was Kyunghae, the chef there. Jusong was really taken with her, but Kyunghae told him he needed a meal ticket to eat in the canteen. After getting the ticket, Jusong waited for Kyunghae to arrive. He fell in love with her delicious cooking. When Kyunghae finally came, she explained the food she made, but Jusung couldn't stop staring at her chest. To get her attention, Jusung gave her all his meal tickets. Meanwhile, Yuri helped Yojin so she wouldn't break up with her boyfriends. But Yojin's boyfriends also asked Eunho for help to break up with her. At that time, Yuri and Eunho helped them talk, but ended up arguing about their own relationship. As Eunho was leaving, he saw Yuri's shadow on the cliff's edge. Feeling curious about Yuri, he followed her and found her looking at a poster, reminiscing about her mysterious boyfriend. There, Eunho tried to cheer her up, understanding her feelings because his own lover had left without a word, while saying that he fought back his tears. In a moment of vulnerability, Eunho leaned in for a kiss, but Yuri firmly rejected him, calling him a jerk. Her words reminded him of their encounter 3 years ago, which she didn't remember. Yuri reiterated she wasn't interested in Eunho, despite his popularity on campus. For the first time in a while, Eunho found someone who spoke the truth. Since then, he had fallen in love again. The next day, Yuri was standing near a cliff, thinking about her mysterious ex-boyfriend. She remembered all the good times they had together before deciding to throw away the photos they had together. Just then, Eunho arrived and thought Yuri was about to do something dangerous. On the other hand, Jusung is seen seducing the sexy Kyunghae. However, Jusung talked too much, so Kyunghae immediately pulled him onto the bed and asked him to make love. Meanwhile, after an embarrassing incident, Eunho and Yuri ended up at the beach. Surprisingly, their friendship grew stronger because of what happened. Eunho found Yuri's laughter contagious and felt drawn to her. He tried to get closer and even attempted to kiss her, but their moment was interrupted by 2 of Yuri's friends from high school. Although they just wanted to invite Yuri to eat with them, she ran away hastily. While fleeing, Yuri dropped her handkerchief, which was picked up by a mysterious man. Eunho and Yuri tried to escape from Yuri's friends. When they felt it was safe, Eunho tried to kiss Yuri again, and this time she didn't resist. However, their moment was once again interrupted by Yuri's friends. Realizing they couldn't continue like this, Yuri and Eunho decided to part ways. Long story short, Eunho got hungry and bumped into Yuri's 2 friends, who were promoting their restaurant. Eunho decided to lend a hand and ended up getting some free food. During their meal, Yuri's friends shared stories from their high school days. They revealed that Yuri had 2 different sides to her personality, making her popular with guys. However, her other side could sometimes cause trouble in relationships. So every time she wants to have a relationship, her bad side shows up and messed everything. Meanwhile, a mysterious man began following Yuri, scaring her. She tried to run away but luckily ran into Eunho. He reassured her and identified the man following her. Despite his concerns that it might be a setup, Eunho decided to go back to the beach. Later, Eunho opened up to Yuri, explaining that he understood her fear of dating because she believed it brought bad luck. But Eunho didn't care about that cause he believed that liking someone was more important. After hearing his perspective, Yuri agreed to give dating a try. They enjoyed their time together and then went home. At that time, Yuri intended to tell Eunho about her split personality, but he didn't seem to hear her. And as they turned around, they accidentally kissed each other. But Eunho wasn't watching the road, so they almost fell off the motorbike. On top of that, the brakes on the motorbike weren't working properly, causing them to crash. After the incident, Eunho called for help from a repair shop and waited with Yuri. They passed the time chatting and making wishes on shooting stars. During a moment, Eunho tried to kiss Yuri but failed each time. He also shared that he had an accident 3 years ago, which gave him the ability to read minds. Meanwhile, Jusung was hanging out and bathing with Kyunghae. They were both feeling a strong attraction towards each other when suddenly there was a knock on Kyunghae's door. It was Vincent, her neighbor, whom she met while traveling to Mongolia. This surprised Jusung because he hadn't realized Kyunghae was so sexually liberated. The next day, Eunho was at home chatting with Minjun, Jusung's younger sister. Minjun was curious about Eunho's activities and why he had come home so early in the morning. She also noticed a woman's scent on Eunho's body, but Eunho just smiled and didn't give a direct answer. While walking to school, Minjun felt sad thinking that Eunho, whom she likes, might be interested in someone else. Suddenly, Minjun got bumped by a man carrying a drink. The man tried to apologize by offering money, but she refused, saying it was her heart that was hurt, not her clothes. The man then gave Minjun his business card from a bookstore, offering a book as an apology. Meanwhile, Jusung purposely placed Yuri's desk near Eunho's to make things awkward between them. Actually, Yuri wanted to make their relationship official. However, she felt embarrassed by Ju-sung and lacked confidence because Eunho was popular on campus. At the park, Yuri was unsure how to express her feelings. Soon, Eunho arrived and held her hand, asking what they should do together. There, Eunho noticed that Yuri wanted to do normal couple things. Suddenly, Eunho had a nosebleed, possibly from being tired after reading Yuri's thoughts or from being too excited. In short, they visited the repair shop where Yojin's motorbike, which had crashed, was being fixed. The mechanic claimed that someone intentionally damaged the brakes. Later, they went on a date, and Yuri seemed very happy, even giving Eunho a kiss. However, Eunho felt insecure and wanted another kiss from Yuri. After the date, Eunho dropped Yuri off at home, and they were both happy. But when they arrived, they found Yojin already there. Yojin urged Yuri to tell Eunho about her split personality, fearing it could cause trouble for him. However, Yuri asked Yojin to pretend she didn't know anything. Meanwhile, Eunho kept imagining moments with Yuri, even picturing her in his room. The next day, as he opened his locker at school, he remembered the mechanic's words about the brakes. While grabbing something from his locker, he accidentally cut his hand on broken glass. Yuri noticed from afar, but decided not to approach because Eunho was already surrounded by other girls. When Yuri was alone with Eunho in Ju-sung's room, she noticed the injuries on Eunho's hands and felt worried. But there, Eunho reassured her, saying that his wounds would heal soon. Soon after, Yuri apologized for not paying attention to his injuries earlier, but Eunho understood because many people had witnessed it. He also gave her a necklace with a small whistle pendant, hoping she would wear it for protection. Later that evening, Eunho secretly went to Byung-chul's house and brought along a piece of broken glass from his own hand. He remembered seeing a similar glass bottle when Byung-chul was being treated. When he arrived, he found Yuri talking with Byung-chul. The next day, while Min-jun was walking to school, she was approached by a creepy man. At first, she managed to handle the situation, but eventually she fell down in fear. Thankfully, the man from yesterday showed up again and came to her rescue. At that time, Min-jun was crying and scared, so the man took her to his bookstore and gave her a book, as he had promised earlier. The next day, on the school campus, Eunho asked Yuri what happened to her hand the previous night, but she stayed silent. Eunho tried to hold Yuri's hand, but his own hand was hurt, so he couldn't understand her feelings. At that time, Eunho really wanted Yuri to answer, and finally, she said that Byung-chul was the one who broke the motorbike brakes and hurt Eunho's hand. But Yuri was upset with Eunho because she thought he was involved with Byung-chul. Realizing this misunderstanding, Eunho took Yuri to an empty classroom to apologize. They thought the classroom was empty because it was dark, but suddenly the lights turned on, and they found Ju-sung inside. The other students saw them together and realized that Eunho and Yuri were dating. At that moment, Yuri felt embarrassed and got a headache. But then, something strange happened. When Yuri lifted her head again, her expression changed, and she kissed Eunho unexpectedly. This other side of Yuri called herself Juri. Juri appears when Yuri has a boyfriend and tries to break them up. She shocked everyone with her boldness. Upon realizing all of this, Eunho quickly covered Juri with his jacket. Outside the school campus, Juri tried to break Eunho and Yuri's relationship by flirting with other guys, hoping Eunho would get tired of her. At that moment, Eunho felt annoyed because he believed it was one of the things men dislike hearing, especially when he was already dealing with an injured hand. After thinking, Eunho realized Yuri was upset because he had revealed their relationship. Despite this, he wasn't upset with her change in behavior. But there, Juri thought Eunho hadn't given up, so she suggested they go to the playground. At the playground, Juri convinced Eunho to try extreme rides until he felt overwhelmed. After playing, Juri ate a lot, expecting Eunho to get annoyed. However, she was surprised when he remained kind. When Eunho asked why she ate so much, Juri pretended to be angry, hoping Eunho would get fed up. But Eunho was careful not to respond hastily, recalling his past experiences to handle situations like this. In the end, Eunho didn't say anything but smiled and kissed Juri. The kiss softened Juri a bit. Eunho then complimented her beauty and asked her to stop her behavior because it wasn't like her. Juri was shocked by his response, expecting him to be angry. But Juri wasn't ready to give up. At night, Juri wore a stunning yellow dress, which surprised Eunho. He also noticed the smell of alcohol on her breath. Suddenly, Ju-ri felt a stomachache because her dress was too tight from eating too much. Despite this, Eun-ho complimented her dress and took her to a photo booth, where they took a picture together. But then, Eun-ho stumbled upon a photo of Yuri with Byung-chul. But then, Ju-ri left Eun-ho to throw away the photo he gave her. While searching for her, Eun-ho saw a parade passing by, and to his surprise, Ju-ri was in the parade. Soon after, he called out to her, but she didn't listen and eventually felt sick. The next morning, Yuri woke up confused, finding herself in a beautiful dress. Her personality had returned, and she didn't know where she was. As she tried to leave, Eun-ho approached her. In her mind, Yuri thought they were dancing together in royal costumes. Soon after, Eun-ho confessed that he knew all of Yuri's secrets, including her split personality. Yuri was surprised that Eun-ho already knew about it. But Eun-ho thought her strange behavior was just because she liked to drink too much. At that moment, Yuri was scared that Eun-ho would find out about her split personality and leave her. But turns out it wasn't like that. There, Eun-ho explained that after leaving the playground, he took her home, but she ended up vomiting on Ju-sung's pants, causing Min-jun to misunderstand. Later, they had to go to the police station to explain the chaos at the playground. There, Eun-ho showed a photo of Yuri and Byung-chul, but she denied it was her. However, Eun-ho didn't believe her and pulled away when she tried to touch him. He warned her not to lie, or he would find out the truth. Before Yuri could explain, Eun-ho left her. The next day at campus, Yuri felt sorry for losing her necklace and said sorry to Eun-ho. But then, Eun-ho pulled out the necklace from his pocket and told her it fell because the chain broke. He even got a new chain and engraved Yuri's name on it. Now, Eun-ho was feeling a bit better now and noticed Yuri acting strangely yesterday. He remembered how she used to be on the playground and how she was back to normal. When Yuri finally confessed the truth, she fainted in Eun-ho's arms. At that moment, Ju-ri showed up again. Then, Eun-ho took this chance to hold her hand. He knew she wasn't really Yuri, and that she wasn't the one dating Byung-chul. Soon after, Ju-ri was about to leave, but Eun-ho insisted that she talk to Yuri. Despite his refusal, Ju-ri gently woke Yuri up. With Yuri back, Eun-ho explained about Ju-ri, another side of Yuri that emerges when she has a boyfriend. So now Eun-ho understands why Yuri wants to keep their relationship a secret. Surprisingly, Yuri decided to end their relationship, and a mysterious man was spying on them from behind a tree. Skipping ahead, Eun-ho and Ju-sung were walking together when Kyung-hae interrupted them. At that time, Ju-sung seemed interested in Kyung-hae's appearance. After Kyung-hae left, Eun-ho revealed that Kyung-hae was actually a man because Eun-ho couldn't read his mind when accidentally touching him. At first, Ju-sung didn't believe it, but then he remembered their intimate moment, where Kyung-hae was always in control. Finally, Ju-sung believed Eun-ho and sought comfort from him. In the evening, Eun-ho went to Yuri's house to give her a necklace, but he couldn't reach her. As he was about to leave, he heard a noise from inside her house. Breaking in, he found Yuri dressed in an anime costume, tied up and gagged. And behind him stood the mysterious man who had been following her, and it was Byung-chul. Soon after, Eun-ho and Byung-chul fought, but Byung-chul overpowered Eun-ho and tied him up. Then he untied Yuri and recounted how they first met. They were in the same class and Byung-chul tried to get close to her, but Yuri always avoided him. One day, Yuri teased Byung-chul, but it was actually Ju-ri. The next day, when Byung-chul hugged Yuri from behind, she fought back and accused him of being a pervert. Yuri's behavior always changed when she was with him, which challenged Byung-chul. But Eun-ho's presence disrupted their plans. Suddenly, Byung-chul started beating Eun-ho, and seeing this, Yuri tried to help but ended up unconscious from a blow. Then, Ju-ri suddenly stood up, and Byung-chul pushed her onto the sofa. And Eun-ho, after managing to untie himself, rushed to help Ju-ri. But Byung-chul brutally attacked him. At that time, Ju-ri, not wanting Eun-ho to get hurt, promised to fulfill Byung-chul's wishes. When Byung-chul was vulnerable, Ju-ri fought back and defeated him. Meanwhile, Yeojin and her boyfriend, Yusik, arrived at Yuri's house and saw the police taking Byung-chul away. At that moment, Yeojin was shocked to learn that Ju-ri was using Yuri's body. Inside the house, Ju-ri hugged Eun-ho, showing signs of falling in love with him. Seeing that, Yeojin intervened and hit Ju-ri to protect Yuri. Eventually, Yuri woke up. After the incident, Yuri went to stay with the game professor for safety, but ended up sharing a room with Min-jun, who kept snoring. She messaged Eunho about it. The next day, Minjun told Sung-hoo about Eunho and Yiri's growing romance, making him jealous. Shortly after, Minjun found Yiri's handkerchief on the beach. One evening at a cafe, Eunho, Yiri, Yusik, and Yeojun gathered to have a party. At that time, they were surprised to see Jusung looking confused after finding out that Kumhae was actually a man. Then, they invited Jusung to join them. Soon after, the cafe owner announced a talent competition with a prize for the winner. Upon hearing that, Yusik volunteered quickly to perform for his girlfriend. Not wanting to be outdone, Eunho also stepped up. They danced together, impressing everyone. Yiri was captivated by their performance, and her heart raced. She tried to calm down by singing, but Eunho's charm overwhelmed her, causing her to faint. At that moment, Yeojin tried to wake her up, hoping Ju-ri wouldn't emerge. However, when Yiri woke up, Ju-ri confidently took over and embarrassed herself by singing. Thankfully, Yeojin intervened and stopped Ju-ri. When she woke up, Yiri felt embarrassed with everyone watching her. The next day at the police station, the officers investigating Yiri's case were surprised to discover that the stalker was not Byung-chul but someone else. They suspected it might be someone from their school. Upon hearing that, Eunho and Yiri started to feel scared by this revelation. One evening, Eunho decided to learn about split personalities to help Ju-ri separate from Yiri. The next day, Yiri found him in his room. Feeling relieved, he held her hand and sensed her love for him. Without a word, he tried to kiss her, but suddenly Ju-ri emerged, ruining his plan. Shortly after, Jusung arrived and was shocked by Yiri's unusual behavior. He was captivated by her, unaware of her split personality. Soon after, Eunho took Ju-ri away, and they had a meal together. There, Ju-ri asked Eunho if he preferred Yiri or her, but he didn't answer. While shopping, Eunho asked about is there anyone who did the same like Byung-chul. Hearing that, Ju-ri accidentally mentioned Sung-hoo, claiming he could hurt Yiri. However, Eunho didn't know who Sung-hoo was. But then, Ju-ri felt scared remembering him, bringing Yiri back. In the evening, Eunho was worried about Yiri because she had eaten too much. Then he decided to buy some medicine for her. On the way home, it started to rain and Eunho noticed a mysterious man following them. Soon after, Eunho confronted the man, but as he tried to catch up to him, Eunho got hit by a motorcycle and passed out after hitting an electricity pole. Sometime later, Yiri found Eunho unconscious. When Eunho woke up, he was scared because he remembered an incident from 3 years ago involving the same mysterious man. When he got home, Eunho drew a jacket with an owl on it. Surprisingly, the person stalking them turned out to be Sung-hoo, the owner of the local bookstore. He had been following them because he failed to harm Yiri 3 years ago. Skipping ahead, Eunho had a dream about chasing Sung-hoo, and when they woke up, they found Ju-ri in front of them. Then, Ju-ri took advantage of the situation and tried to seduce Eunho. Eventually, Eunho realized what was happening and asked Ju-ri about Sung-hoo and their relationship, but Ju-ri refused to tell them. When Ju-ri was about to leave, Eunho pulled her close, trying to understand her thoughts with his special powers. But just then, Yiri woke up, causing Eunho to misunderstand the situation. The next day, Eunho asked Yusik for help in drawing an owl. Then, Eunho started spreading articles to find out who owned the jacket with the owl on it. Later, Eunho met Yiri, who was still angry because of the misunderstanding with Ju-ri. Using his mind-reading powers, Eunho easily understood what Yiri was feeling and managed to reconcile with her. Soon after, Eunho received news about the owner of the jacket. A student explained that it belonged to the novel research community 3 years ago, and one of the leaders was Sung-hoo. Meanwhile, Minjun had been spending time with Sung-hoo. She cried because she couldn't finish writing an online novel. At that moment, Sung-hoo calmly encouraged and supported her, making Minjun even more impressed by him. For Minjun, Sung-hoo was like a shining figure in her life. One evening, when Yiri was walking home alone, she sensed someone following her. She hurried to a crowded place and discovered it was Sung-hoo. Once home, Eunho asked Yiri about her ex-boyfriend, who was none other than Sung-hoo, suspecting a connection to an unsolved murder 3 years ago. There, Yiri revealed that Sung-hoo disappeared after the tragedy, and she reported him missing, but no clues emerged. Shortly after, Jusung showed a photo of a famous murder in a bathtub, explaining the killer targeted lonely, antisocial victims for romantic relationships. Eunho thought the killer resembled Sung-hoo and performed special rituals. Suddenly, Minjun emerged and disclosed detailed knowledge, mentioning an online novel by So-rung, which mirrored the unsolved case. The novel appeared a week after the bathtub murder, sparking rumors that the author might be the culprit. The next day, Eunho visited Sung-hoo's bookstore, pretending to seek another novel by So-rung. At that time, his real motive was to uncover Sung-hoo's true identity. Upon obtaining the book, he discovered it detailed Yiri's relationship with Sung-hoo and her hidden split personality. As Eunho's suspicions grew about Sung-hoo, Yiri came up with the idea to call Ju-ri for more clues about Sung-hoo. At that time, they planned to kiss in a crowded place to call for Ju-ri, but she didn't show up despite several attempts. Eunho even used his powers to summon her. But turns out Ju-ri struck a deal before that she would vanish, unless Eunho discovered Sung-hoo's truth. Hearing that, Eunho agreed, but the encounters drained his energy, leaving him hospitalized and weakened. A few days later, while packing Yiri's things, Eunho found a jacket with an owl, triggering memories from 3 years ago. Suspecting Ju-ri might be the serial killer, Eunho took Yiri on a beach holiday to confirm his suspicions and distract themselves. Under the moonlight, Yiri revealed her jacket was similar to Sung-hoo's. 3 years ago, Yiri found herself lying on her bed wearing a jacket, but she couldn't remember how she got there. Meanwhile, Eunho suspected that Ju-ri might have been involved in some murders that happened 3 years ago, but he was sure that Yiri had nothing to do with it. Still, Yiri was scared because she felt connected to Ju-ri in some way. Suddenly, Ju-ri woke up and said she wasn't a murderer. Soon after, Eunho read her mind, and he realized that Sung-hoo was the real killer. 3 years ago, when Eunho visited Sola's house, Sung-hoo committed the murders. At that time, Ju-ri was the only witness and tried to catch Sung-hoo. She even helped Eunho when he got hurt. After knowing that, Eunho was relieved that Ju-ri wasn't guilty. But Ju-ri had more to say. She revealed that she had sneaked into Sung-hoo's house and found many photos of women. At first, she thought Sung-hoo was cheating, so she tried to catch him in the act. But instead, she stumbled upon evidence of the murders. Sadly, because of her split personality, she can't be the witness. Soon after, Ju-ri and Eunho ended up at the Han River Bridge while searching for Sung-hoo. At that moment, Sung-hoo learned that Yiri had a split personality. When he found out that Ju-ri had witnessed him committing murder, he wanted to kill her. But Ju-ri managed to push him under the bridge instead. This made her feel guilty, thinking she had killed Sung-hoo. Upon hearing that, Eunho left abruptly, making Ju-ri feel like he hated her. But he returned soon after with a blanket, showing he didn't hold any grudges. He believed Ju-ri acted in self-defense, not with the intention to kill. He also urged Ju-ri to tell Yiri the truth about Sung-hoo. The next day, Yiri watched a video of Ju-ri confessing about Sung-hoo. She decided to go to the police and report everything she knew about him. Meanwhile, the central game professor argued with Min-jun over her poor grades. Ju-sung advised Min-jun to study hard for her future, but this only made Min-jun upset, so she went to see Sung-hoo instead. Meanwhile, Yiri and Eunho had made it to the police station, but Yiri got nervous and decided to leave. Just as they were leaving, a policeman called them back because a detective had found a clue about a series of murders from 3 years ago. This breakthrough came after Eunho had tipped off the police about a writer named So-rung, leading them to uncover links to Sung-hoo. Both Yiri and Eunho were shocked to discover that Sung-hoo, whom they had thought was dead, was actually the one who wrote about them. With a sketch of Sung-hoo's face, wanted posters started appearing everywhere. Meanwhile, Min-jun had arrived at Sung-hoo's place and stumbled upon his hidden room. Sung-hoo calmly brought Min-jun inside, making her realize she was in danger of becoming his next victim. In the evening, the police pinpointed Sung-hoo's location and rushed there. At that moment, Ju-sung was extremely worried about Min-jun, who was still missing. During their search, they suspected there might be a hidden room in the area. Soon after, Ju-ri sent a message to Eunho about a hidden room behind a bookshelf. When they opened it, they found Min-jun unconscious and finally located Sung-hoo, who was with Yiri in the Busan area. There, Yiri found herself trapped by Sung-hoo, who wanted to lure Eunho to her location. She struggled to escape but was tied up and helpless. All she could do was criticize Sung-hoo's terrible novel. But this only made Sung-hoo angrier, and he planned to kill Eunho as the climax of his story. When Eunho finally arrived, Ju-ri unexpectedly attacked him. Eunho woke up tied in a bathtub. Turns out, Ju-ri made a deal with Sung-hoo to keep Yiri safe, agreeing to follow his orders. During that time, Eunho mocked Sung-hoo's poorly received novel, enraging him further. Sung-hoo brutally beat Eunho for his insults. Then, Sung-hoo confessed that he had been stalking Eunho and Yuri all along, believing it would help him write a perfect novel. He was proud of his twisted actions. While Sung-hoo boasted, Ju-ri attempted to escape. Meanwhile, Eunho was beaten unconscious, and water continued to flow in the room. At that time, Ju-ri kept running and hiding from Sung-hoo's pursuit, but her leg was injured, slowing her down. Eventually, Sung-hoo caught up to her easily. Afterward, Sung-hoo took Ju-ri to a cliff, a spot where they shared memories together. Sung-hoo planned to hurt himself along with Ju-ri, thinking it would conclude his novel. Luckily, Eunho arrived just in time. Turns out previously Ju-ri had secretly loosened Eunho's restraints and passed him a lighter. With his newfound freedom, Eunho knew Sung-hoo's next move and managed to escape. Soon the police arrived and surrounded them, but Sung-hoo remained determined to jump with Ju-ri. In a desperate attempt to save Ju-ri, the police shot Sung-hoo, putting Ju-ri in danger. Fortunately, Eunho intervened and rescued Ju-ri. Soon after, Yuri regained consciousness and arrived at the scene, just as Sung-hoo was being arrested. Feeling insulted, Yuri voiced her annoyance about the novel that he made, further enraging Sung-hoo. Then he lashed out at the police and nearly pushed Yuri off the cliff. Seeing this, Eunho rushed to help, but he couldn't hold on and Yuri fell. Without hesitation, Eunho jumped after her, determined to save her. At that time, Eunho recalled the time he entered Ju-ri's world. Ju-ri told him she would leave Yuri, believing Eunho could protect her. Tearfully, Ju-ri bid farewell to Yuri. Long story short, Yuri woke up in the hospital and realized Ju-ri was gone forever. She searched for Eunho and was overjoyed to find him safe. But Eunho had lost his memories, including their first meeting. At that time, Yuri tried to help him remember, but Eunho couldn't read minds anymore, making it difficult to recall their past moments together. Then a miracle happened when Ju-ri tried to jog Eunho's memories while he slept. When he woke up, he was confused but slowly remembered. After a few days, he recovered and prepared to leave the hospital. At that time, Yuri dressed up like Ju-ri, hoping to trigger Eunho's memories. Turns out her efforts paid off, and Eunho remembered some of their moments together. Now they could start afresh and be together again. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is always double-check before assuming someone's gender, even when that person looks super sexy, because you never know when you might find yourself in a hilariously awkward situation like Chu-song.